Right, I'm going to try another game of 10-minute rapid. I'm just trying to play a bit more rapid chess now, just slowly get back into it. My rating is 2158, that's very, very good. So 2192, good luck. We've not played before, there's no head-to-head score. Okay, let's, how do we want to do this? Actually, let's go d5. Okay, I'm going to match that. Yeah, I think I'll match that as well. I was just looking at bishop up one or the other. I'm just going to try and get castled. But it is 10-minute rapid this, so we've got time. We don't have to play anything crazy fast. I might end up playing too fast and just go wrong just because I'm playing a bit too quickly, but it is what it is. So what do we want to do? I've got knight across, and pawn up as my candidate moves, but I don't really want to take and allow this. So I'm just going to develop the knight for now. And maybe rook across, maybe pawn just up one. See, we don't want complete symmetry, we want to have some variation in the position. That's a sensible move, but I think I'll just stick to rook across for now, just preparing a longer term aim to push forward maybe. Knight up might be a move to challenge his knight here and try and challenge for the centre. Again, bishop d6 is still a move, but he can obviously come in, which he's actually done. I don't mind that. I think I should take there. Then I've maybe got bishop up now. Unless he goes with the pawn, which he's done. So he's gone for quite an aggressive setup. I like the look of knight forward here. He might be preparing g4. Knight forward, I've still got a square here if he doesn't trade. Or I can just play back. Knight back is probably a bit more sensible. Knight forward. There's more risk of my knight getting trapped here, but I'm offering a trade. Bishop and then come back. Knight here, try and put pressure on the pawn. Instinctively I would go back over, but not sure. I mean, I can play bishop g5 and he can just drop back. Yeah, I'm going to go forward. I'm going to go forward there and just challenge the knight. I just have to hope I don't get my knight trapped here now. But obviously bishop up is a potential move. Or I might have to bring the knight back and end up coming all the way around the angles. So not without risk. He has taken, so I'm going to take back. If queen up, I'll probably just develop something like this. I need to make sure my bishop is able to retreat in case he flings everything down the board. He might actually do that and go queenside. It wouldn't surprise me. Otherwise, I might have a move like, say, bishop g5, but he can simply drop back. So no big threats early on. Yeah, he has done that indeed. So I think he's wanting to fly down the board. Now check here, he just blocks and I'm going to lose a piece. So I've got to go here and I'm going to have to push one of these pawns. f6 might be a potential move as well to challenge the center directly. Instinctively you just play h6, but you've got to still consider f6. And bishop up now is more of a move, because if he drops back he'll lose a pawn, so bishop g5 I'll give consideration to here. As well as even bishop check and then bishop g5 and try and get that bishop off the board. But bishop g5 is a candidate move here. Let's just see what my opponent does. Yeah, he's gone g3, so I think bishop g5. We can force that bishop off. And he'll probably end up having to take with the e-pawn. Okay, but then f6 becomes easier to play. I'm going to do it. I don't want to burn my clock down completely. He wants me to take here rather than him taking me, I think. Then he'll bring this pawn across, but then I might play a quick f6 or even f5. So we'll take the bishop. But I'm looking at f6 rather than f... Oh, he's going with that pawn. That I didn't actually expect. f6 rather than h6, I was going to say. So I want to try and strike out in the center. Maybe I can just plant the bishop on one of these now. Plant it there or plant it there. Oh, see, that's got no attack from a pawn coming. That's interesting, because I can try and do this, but as soon as I push, he's got a counter. But I don't want him to push this pawn uneasily. So I'm just going to go here for now and trust if I need to, I can come back. And I'm going to try and launch forward, assuming he's going to want to go this side. So I'm going to try and expand these pawns, otherwise his king's a little bit perilous. His rook needs to defend his pawn. So I want to try and gain some space on the queen side if I can. If he pushes there, maybe I can just take. If he pushes there, maybe I can just take and trade the queens, then there's less risk. Interesting. You can obviously try something like this, but yeah, so he's lining up the castling. So do I do this? Castles up, and then I guess he just does this. No, I see no reason not to play c5, maybe even b5 and just sack a pawn just to try and open the file up. If he takes, I could take here, but both of us would then have rooks under attack. Bishop there to hit the pawn, so I do have the option to drop the bishop back, or I can take a pawn here and give up a pawn here, but that seems really risky. g6 and my bishop is effectively stuck. If I come back now, takes, I'd probably take with the f pawn. You can imagine it pushed there. Take, rook takes, pawn up. It's very, very risky. I can grab the f3 pawn, lose a pawn across. And that's getting very spicy, very, very spicy. How do we want to do this? I could even play d4 here, just let him take, but it's very risky, isn't it? I'm actually going to go g6. I'm going to risk planting the bishop there and trust that I'm alright. But he might actually castle and want me to take here in order to push on. So I'm going to try and push somewhere around here. Obviously, depending on what my opponent does now. But my bishop could be effectively just a giant pawn for the rest of the game now, so not without risk. But I'm trusting it's more difficult for him to break through. He needs a couple of moves to do this. Then the other rook across. And I might play a move like b5 and just simply try and sack pawns to open the files up. Or d4. So let's just see what my opponent does. Yeah, he's played king up. So he's staying that side now. So I could go here and force the bishop back. I like d4. It's really opening things up a bit more, isn't it? So I think d4 is what I want to play. If he counters, I can still play and try and open things up a little bit. Yeah, it's got to be right to play d4, even if I end up losing 2 pawns for 1. His king's very vulnerable. I mean, mine could be very, very quickly, but I want to try and open things up. It's not without risk. The rook's going to get on an active file, so I'll have to trust that I can survive, but I'd rather try and play for a win than just play for a draw, even if I lose the game in the process. Yeah, he's pushed forward, so I think I need to take here. I don't want him to push again and find it's completely clogged. So I'm going to take there. I assume he'll go with the queen, but he could go with the pawn, and he has. He has gone with the pawn. So again, is this feasible to just sack, or even this to sack? Queen up is a move as well, threatening c4. We'll have to counter. But I could just push, allow this just to get some quick development. But it's still a pawn at the end of the day. I'm going to do it though. I want to try and open things up rather than keeping them all bogged down. So just queen up, rook across, try and get forward. If it's losing, it's losing. Maybe even queen here just to keep an eye on the pawn. Rook across, he can come down. So I'm going to go with the queen. He can't come down now because of the check. I'm just trying to go for development, pressure the pawn. Hopefully pressure the king as well. And then do we have a timely move like f6? If takes, takes here. Again, all depends on what my opponent does. He's gone back that way. So rook across feels very natural just to pressure the pawn. You'll probably have to counter it. But I don't see anything better. But queen across to target this pawn if he brings the other rook across. But I'm looking at f6 and take a risk. If he takes, just queen up. It's very risky, isn't it? Very risky. I'm going to push the pawn for now just to try and stop this push. Or completely open it up if he does push anywhere. b4 might be a move. a6 is a move. I've got a queen check and then takes if he plays it. Let's just see. Right, queen across tempts rook across to d8, the e rook, I think. Just to get natural tempo. Obviously, he's attacking the pawn. I'm aware of that, so I could check first and then rook across. If I check now, he's probably just going to block. Rook across, queen takes, rook check. And we're getting very, very active. f6 feels a little bit too bold. But if I play a holding quiet move, he can play across, but then I do have queen over potentially as well. Whereas rook across, if he takes, check. Even a move like king back, it's not easy to force anything. Rook across, he might simply have a move like rook over though. He needs to guard this pawn as well, right? The rook across takes, check. King up here feels very risky. Very risky. What about king here? I could potentially double up with bishop takes as a threat. I've just got a simple move like a6 to hold, but I guess he can strike out. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try and get a rook forward. Okay, so we check and we try and double up. Oh, he has gone the side way. Okay. So I've got to look and see, is this feasible now? Rook across, he can maybe double. Yeah, I'm going to do this anyway. Depends how he does it, because we can trade off and I can try and grab a pawn. And his king feels very unsafe here, whereas my king feels relatively safe, though if he gets a queen here, he might have an endless repetition if he needs a bailout. But I think I'm threatening bishop takes f3. I think it's a threat. King takes and check. If back, rook across. So I think bishop takes f3 is a threat. But of course it might not be. He might simply have either rook across to force one of the rooks off. And that might be good enough. But yeah, rook across, take, 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 take. Queen takes and we're threatening to come in. He's got a couple of checks, but either way I can simply step forward. And it feels alright to me. But I am down material. I've sacked 2 pawns. So if this doesn't work for me, then, well, it goes the other way, doesn't it? So, no. I don't have queen this side. But I can force this issue with takes. Bishop takes now. Rook takes, king takes. That doesn't work. So I need to go to this line now. I'm committed to it now. He's gone with the bishop. Wow. Again, I didn't quite expect that. So I think I can just bring the rook forward again. Hit this pawn, but it's really the king I'm aiming for. But how do I get my queen in? Yeah, I'm just committed to this now, so I'm going forward. I want the queen up something like this, but obviously I don't want to trade queens. That would not be very clever. So I'm going to drop back, cover the rook stepping across, and hopefully try and get forward if he wanders off. But I don't see how I force him to wander off. That's a slight problem. I could spend a move with king up so he doesn't have a check. He's trying to force the queen off the board, and that's not good. So I've got king up, and then if queen down, then I can fly forward. So I think king up looks strong here. He doesn't have queen there, but he does here, but it's no longer then a check. And I can simply fly up the board. So I'm going to do that, threatening queen up if he wanders off and doesn't cover the square. We're both getting that little bit lower on time now. It's down to 20 seconds, so he's going to have to start playing in bullet mode. And I've still got this threat, bishop takes f3. If he doesn't cover it there, it might be playable now. Bishop takes f3. If king takes, queen d3 check. King g4, rook to g2 is mate, right? So I think that's a strong move, but what's his follow-up? I'm assuming he's just looking at this, but bishop takes f3 just hits it anywhere. So I think I can do it. Threatening queen up and checkmate if he takes. And it's covered this now as well. So pawn up. So now I can take here. If I rook check, king takes. Rook check, king takes, queen down. I've got nothing there. But I think I can just take the pawn with a view to check. Is that a checkmate threat? Wow, that is a really good win, isn't it? It's not actually technically checkmate, he's out of time. But I was coming up here potentially, but I was aware of the clock there, so that's a really good win. Excellent.